Elon Musk was sitting in his office late at night scrolling through his phone. The room was dimly lit, with only the glow of his laptop and the soft hum of machines filling the silence. He wasn't working on anything urgent, at least not yet. His mind had been restless lately, oscillating between ideas for new ventures and thoughts about how people perceived him. That's when he stumbled upon a video clip from The Daily Show. It was hosted by Jon Stewart, someone whose sharp wit and unfiltered opinions had always grabbed attention. In the clip, Stewart was talking about Elon, but it wasn't just casual commentary. It was biting, funny, and packed with criticism. Stewart didn't hold back as he dissected some of Elon's most controversial moments. Those cryptic tweets that sent stock markets into chaos, public arguments with critics, and his tendency to shrug off concerns about the impact of his actions on society. To make matters worse, Stewart delivered it all with a mix of humor and seriousness that made it impossible to ignore. At first, Elon felt blindsided. Sure, he was used to criticism. Being in the spotlight came with its share of haters. But this was different. Stewart wasn't just attacking him. He was questioning his integrity, his values, and even his role as a leader shaping the future. For someone like Elon, who prided himself on innovation and ambition, hearing such accusations stung more than he cared to admit. But instead of brushing it off or ignoring it completely, something inside Elon clicked. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe it was the challenge of facing an opponent known for his razor-sharp intellect. Whatever it was, Elon decided right then and there that he couldn't let this slide. This wasn't going to be another case of let them talk. No, he wanted to respond, and he wanted to do it in a way that would get people talking. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling for a moment before grabbing his phone again. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he thought about what to say. How could he counter someone like Stewart? Humor, sarcasm, a direct hit. Eventually, he settled on a tone. Playful but pointed, clever but cutting. After several drafts and rewrites, he finally posted his response on Twitter. "Hey John," the tweet began. "I see you've taken time out of your busy schedule of farming kale to roast me. Cute, but maybe next time focus less on jokes and more on fixing the planet. Just saying." The tweet went live, and within minutes the internet exploded. People were divided. Some loved Elon's quick comeback, applauding his ability to fire back without losing his cool. Others thought it was petty, arguing that a billionaire shouldn't waste energy trading barbs with a comedian. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was certain: everyone was watching. What started as a simple critique on a late-night show had now turned into a full-blown spectacle. And while Elon might have intended to shut down the conversation, his response only fueled it further. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a much bigger exchange, one that would test not only his wit, but also his willingness to engage with someone who saw the world very differently than he did. Jon Stewart, meanwhile, woke up the next morning unaware of the storm brewing online. When he eventually caught wind of Elon's tweet, he couldn't help but laugh. At first glance, it seemed like typical banter, the kind celebrities often exchanged on social media. But as he read deeper into the replies and saw the sheer volume of reactions, he realized this had potential. This wasn't just a squabble anymore. It was a cultural moment waiting to happen. Later that evening, during the taping of The Daily Show, Stewart addressed Elon's response head-on. Sitting behind his desk, he looked straight into the camera with a mischievous grin. Well, he said, pausing for dramatic effect. "Looks like our favorite space cowboy decided to strike back. Bold move, Elon. Very bold. But let's be honest here. You're great at building rockets, but your burn game needs work." Audience roared with laughter, and Stewart pressed on, diving deeper into Elon's tweet. He pointed out inconsistencies in Elon's argument, highlighted the irony of a tech mogul lecturing others on environmental issues, and wrapped it all up with his trademark blend of humor and insight. By the end of the segment, it was clear. Jon Stewart wasn't backing down. If anything, he was ready to take things to the next level. Back in his office, Elon watched the episode unfold live. At first, he smirked, appreciating Stewart's comedic timing and clever wordplay. But as the segment progressed, he found himself growing increasingly frustrated. Was Stewart intentionally twisting his words? Or was he genuinely trying to make a point? Either way, Elon knew one thing for sure: this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. And so, the stage was set for round two, a battle of wits between two larger-than-life personalities, each determined to prove they were smarter, funnier, and more relevant than the other. What neither of them realized, however, was that this clash would end up revealing far more about themselves and their shared humanity than either had anticipated. By the next morning, Elon's phone was buzzing nonstop. Notifications flooded in from every corner of the internet: tweets, memes, news articles, and endless commentary about his clash with Jon Stewart. Some people were praising him for standing up to a has-been comedian, while others accused him of being immature and defensive. One viral meme showed a cartoon rocket labeled Elon's ego exploding midair as a laughing farmer, clearly meant to represent Stewart, stood below, holding a pitchfork. It was funny, sure, but it also stung. Elon wasn't used to feeling cornered like this. He had faced criticism before, plenty of it, but there was something uniquely frustrating about Stewart's approach. The guy wasn't just mocking him. He was doing it with precision, using humor as a weapon to expose flaws Elon didn't want to admit existed. Still, Elon couldn't deny that part of him enjoyed the challenge. This wasn't just about defending himself. It was about proving he could hold his own against someone who thrived on taking down powerful figures. He spent hours crafting another response, determined to outwit Stewart this time. His tweets came, fast and furious. "John, maybe if you spent less time growing vegetables and more time understanding tech, you'd have something meaningful to say. Also, fun fact, farming isn't exactly carbon neutral either. Just saying." Each post was sharper than the last, dripping with sarcasm and thinly veiled digs at Stewart's post-retirement life. Fans of Elon ate it up, retweeting his comments and cheering him on. But critics quickly jumped in too, accusing him of deflecting, instead of addressing the real issues Stewart had raised. The debate raged online with hashtags like Dr. Musk Stewart trending worldwide. What started as a minor spat had turned into a full-blown spectacle, and neither side seemed ready to back down. Meanwhile, Jon Stewart was miles away from the chaos, relaxing on his farm in New Jersey. He sipped coffee on his porch, scrolling through the latest updates on his phone. At first, he chuckled at Elon's attempts to fight back. The billionaire's tweets were clever, no doubt, but they lacked the polish and nuance of a seasoned wordsmith like Stewart. For someone who prided himself on innovation, Elon's responses felt surprisingly predictable. But as the day wore on, Stewart began to see an opportunity. This wasn't just about poking fun at Elon anymore. It was a chance to spark a conversation about bigger issues. Stewart had always been passionate about holding people accountable, especially those in positions of power. And let's face it, Elon Musk was as powerful as they came. Whether it was his influence over Tesla's stock price or his ambitious plans to colonize Mars, Elon's decisions impacted millions of lives. If Stewart could use this feud to highlight some of those broader concerns, it might actually do some good. That evening, during the taping of The Daily Show, Stewart addressed Elon once again. This time, though, his tone shifted slightly. Instead of purely comedic jabs, he mixed in moments of genuine reflection. Leaning into the camera, he said, "You know, Elon, I get it. You're building rockets, electric cars, brain chips. You're basically Tony Stark without the charm. But here's the thing. When you're shaping the future, you can't ignore the present. People are watching you, not just because you're brilliant, but because you matter." The audience erupted in applause, sensing the shift in energy. Stewart continued, "So how about we stop throwing shade at each other and actually talk? No scripts, no edits, no filters. Let's sit down and hash this out live. What do you say? Elon, are you game?" It was a bold move, and everyone knew it. By issuing a direct challenge to Elon, Stewart wasn't just escalating the feud. He was forcing Elon to make a choice. Would he step into the ring and risk looking foolish? Or would he retreat quietly and let Stewart claim victory? For Elon, the question weighed heavily. On one hand, appearing alongside Stewart could humanize him in ways he desperately needed. Public perception mattered, even if he hated to admit it. A live discussion might give him a chance to explain his vision, defend his actions, and connect with viewers on a personal level. On the other hand, Stewart was a master debater. The man had spent years dissecting politicians, CEOs, and cultural icons on national television. Could Elon really hold his own against someone with that kind? Every word Stewart spoke carried weight, and Elon knew it. He paced around his office, replaying the clip of Stewart's challenge over and over in his mind. Should he accept, decline, or find a way to turn the tables entirely? Finally, after hours of deliberation, Elon made a decision, but not the one anyone expected. Rather than agreeing to a straightforward debate, he proposed an alternative format, a competitive showdown disguised as entertainment. In a tweet he wrote, "John, I'll meet you live, but let's make it interesting. How about a game show style competition? Trivia, speeches, maybe even a little rocket building contest. Winner takes all. Deal?" The internet went wild. Fans of both men debated the merits of such a bizarre idea, while late-night hosts joked about everything from Elon's eccentricity to Stewart's potential meltdown under pressure. As for Stewart, he wasted no time accepting the challenge. "All right, Elon," he replied on Twitter. "Game on, but don't blame me when your Model S loses to my tractor." With the stage set for an unprecedented event, anticipation reached fever pitch. Viewers around the world tuned in, eager to see whether this clash of titans would end in triumph, embarrassment, or something entirely unexpected. The announcement of the showdown sent shockwaves across the internet. People couldn't stop talking about it. Friends debated at lunch tables, co-workers exchanged memes during breaks, and late-night hosts dedicated entire segments to speculating how this bizarre face-off would unfold. Would Elon dazzle with his technical brilliance, or would Jon Stewart's quick wit leave him speechless? The curiosity was palpable, and both men became the center of attention in ways neither had anticipated. Elon dove headfirst into preparation. He wasn't just going to show up. He wanted to win. For someone who thrived on solving complex problems, this competition felt like another puzzle waiting to be cracked. He assembled a small team of trusted advisors, a mix of engineers, writers, and strategists, to help him brainstorm ideas for each challenge. They spent hours practicing trivia questions about science, technology, and even pop culture, though Elon admitted he didn't watch much TV. When it came to building model rockets, though, he was in his element. His hands moved effortlessly as he demonstrated techniques to his team, explaining aerodynamics and design principles with infectious enthusiasm. But there was one area where Elon struggled: public speaking without notes. He was used to delivering polished presentations backed by slideshows and carefully rehearsed scripts. Speaking off the cuff, especially under pressure, didn't come naturally to him. To tackle this weakness, his team encouraged him to practice impromptu speeches. At first, his responses were awkward, filled with long pauses and nervous laughter. But slowly, something clicked. As he talked about his failures, the rockets that exploded, the cars that caught fire, the countless setbacks along the way, he found his rhythm. These weren't just stories of defeat. They were lessons in resilience, proof that failure could fuel innovation. By the time the big day approached, Elon felt ready, or at least as ready as he could be. Meanwhile, Jon Stewart was preparing in his own unique way. Back at his farmhouse, he turned the living room into a makeshift war room. Books, notepads, and whiteboards covered every surface, each one filled with facts, jokes, and potential zingers. Unlike Elon, Stewart didn't need a team to bounce ideas off. He thrived in chaos. He spent hours researching Elon's career, digging deep into everything from SpaceX launches to Twitter controversies. The goal wasn't just to poke fun, but to understand what made Elon tick, what drove him, what scared him, and most importantly, how could Stewart use that knowledge to connect with viewers while still landing punchlines. Stewart also knew he had to brush up on certain topics. Sure, he could joke about farming all day, but this showdown required more than just clever quips. So, he reached out to friends in the scientific community, asking them to explain concepts Like quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence in layman's terms. I don't need to build a rocket, he joked during a phone call with a physicist, but I should at least know why it doesn't explode immediately. The conversations were enlightening, giving him enough material to hold his own in any technical discussion. What set Stewart apart, though, was his ability to blend humor with heart. While Elon focused on winning individual challenges, Stewart kept reminding himself of the bigger picture. This wasn't just about beating Elon, it was about creating a moment that mattered. He wanted viewers to walk away entertained, sure, but also thinking critically about leadership, accountability, and the role of innovators in shaping society. With that mindset, he crafted a strategy that balanced sharp commentary with genuine empathy. If Elon tried to dominate with intellect, Stewart would counter with humanity. As the days passed, hype for the event reached unprecedented levels. Social media buzzed with predictions, fan art, and parody videos, imagining how the showdown might play out. Some fans created mock drafts of possible trivia questions. What year did Tesla go public? Versus, who played Ross Geller in Friends? While others debated which man would excel in physical tasks like assembling model rockets. Late-night comedians milked the situation for all it was worth, turning the feud into a recurring bit. One host even joked, "If these two start arguing about space travel, I'm just going to grab popcorn and enjoy the ride." Behind the scenes, producers worked tirelessly to ensure the live stream ran smoothly. The venue, a sleek futuristic studio designed to look like a cross between a game show set and a tech expo, was packed with neon lights, giant screens, and props ranging from miniature rockets to kale plants, a nod to Stewart's farming lifestyle. Contestants' podiums stood side by side, each equipped with buzzers and microphones. A live audience filled the seats, buzzing with excitement as they waited for the main event to begin. When the night finally arrived, tension crackled in the air. Both Elon and Jon arrived separately, greeted by cheering crowds and flashing cameras. Elon wore a sleek black suit paired with sneakers, embodying his signature blend of sophistication and casualness. Stewart, true to form, opted for a simple blazer over jeans, exuding the charm of someone who'd rather be cracking jokes than dressing up. As they took their places on stage, the atmosphere shifted. Gone was the playful banter of social media. Now, it was real. Two vastly different personalities, one driven by innovation, the other by storytelling, stood face to face, ready to test not only their knowledge but also their ability to connect with people. The host introduced the rules briefly, then turned to the contestants. "Are you ready?" the host asked, looking at Elon first. "As ready as I'll ever be," Elon replied with a confident smile, though his eyes betrayed a hint of nerves. "And you, Jon?" Stewart leaned into the mic, grinning. "Let's do this. Just remember, Elon, if my rocket explodes, yours probably will too." The audience erupted in laughter, setting the tone for what promised to be an unforgettable evening. Little did anyone know the challenges ahead would push both men far beyond their comfort zones and reveal sides of themselves they hadn't expected to share. The lights dimmed, and the studio erupted into applause as the host stepped forward to kick things off. The energy in the room was electric. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't just another talk show or viral feud playing out online. This was a live event with stakes that felt oddly personal. Two larger-than-life personalities were about to face off in a way no one had ever seen before. As the host welcomed the audience, he turned to Elon and Jon, who stood at their podiums, exchanging quick glances and subtle smirks. "All right, gentlemen," the host said, his voice booming through the mic. "We've got a series of challenges ahead, each designed to test your wit, creativity, and maybe even your patience. Let's dive right in." The first round was trivia, a mix of science, pop culture, and random facts. Questions flashed on giant screens behind them, and both contestants buzzed in furiously whenever they thought they knew the answer. At first, Elon dominated the technical questions. When asked about quantum physics or the history of space exploration, he answered with ease, earning points and impressing the crowd. But when the question shifted to pop culture, things got trickier for him. One question stumped him completely. What movie features a character named Tony Stark? Jon Stewart didn't hesitate. Slamming his buzzer, he quipped, "Oh, come on, Elon. You're basically Tony Stark minus the charm, and apparently the knowledge of movies." The audience roared with laughter as Elon chuckled awkwardly, shaking his head. For all his brilliance, this was clearly not his strong suit. But Elon bounced back quickly. On a follow-up question about renewable energy, he delivered an answer, so detailed and passionate that even Stewart raised an eyebrow in admiration. Okay, Stewart conceded with a grin. "You win this one, but let's see how you handle building actual stuff." The second challenge took things up a notch, constructing model rockets from scratch. Contestants were given kits containing basic materials, plastic tubes, fins, nose cones, and small engines, and tasked with assembling functional models within 15 minutes. The twist? Their creations would be launched immediately after completion, and points would be awarded based on height, stability, and overall performance. Elon, unsurprisingly, dove into the task with laser focus. His hands moved swiftly as he assembled, pieces with precision, explaining key principles like center of gravity and thrust-to-weight ratio to anyone listening. By the time the clock ran out, his rocket looked sleek and professional, almost ready for NASA approval. Stewart, on the other hand, approached the task with humor rather than perfectionism. Struggling to attach fins properly, he joked, "Well, if this thing explodes, at least I'll have great material for next week's show." When launch time came, the audience cheered wildly as the rocket soared skyward, or tried to. Elon's creation shot straight up, reaching impressive heights before deploying its parachute flawlessly. Stewart's rocket wobbled mid-air, veering, slightly off course but still managing to stay airborne. Though Elon technically won the round, Stewart stole the spotlight with his self-deprecating humor. "See?" he said, pointing to his crooked rocket. "Proof that innovation doesn't always mean perfection. Sometimes it just means trying really hard not to crash." Next came the impromptu speech challenge, a moment that shifted the tone entirely. Both men were given topics randomly selected by the audience and had only 2 minutes to prepare before delivering their speeches live. For Elon, the topic was failure as fuel for success. He paused briefly, collecting his thoughts, then began speaking with surprising vulnerability. He talked about early failures in his career, the bankrupt companies, the botched product launches, the countless times people told him his ideas were impossible. "There's this myth," he said, leaning into the mic, "that success is some kind of straight line. It's not. Every step forward is usually preceded by 10 steps back, but failure teaches you resilience. It forces you to rethink, rebuild, and keep going. And honestly, without failure, none of us would grow." The audience sat silently, captivated by his honesty. Even Stewart seemed moved, nodding along as Elon spoke. When it was his turn, Stewart tackled a topic close to his heart: accountability and leadership. With his signature blend of humor and insight, he addressed the importance of owning mistakes, especially for those in positions of power. "You know," he began, pacing slightly as he spoke. "Being a leader isn't just about having big ideas or making bold moves. It's also about recognizing when you screw up and being brave enough to say, 'Yeah, that was me.' Because here's the thing, nobody expects perfection. What they expect is authenticity. They want to know that the person steering the ship cares as much about the journey as the destination." His words resonated deeply, drawing cheers and applause from the crowd. For the first time that night, the competition felt less like a battle and more like a conversation, a chance for two very different individuals to share perspectives and connect on a human level. As the final challenge approached, emotions ran high. The last task was a rapid-fire Q&A session, where contestants had to answer personal questions posed by the audience. Topics ranged from lighthearted, "What's your go-to comfort food?" to deeply reflective, "If you could change one decision in your life, what would it be?" Both men handled the questions with grace, revealing sides of themselves rarely seen in public. Elon admitted his biggest regret was underestimating the emotional toll of his work on those around him. "I've been so focused on solving problems," he confessed, "that sometimes I forget people aren't machines." We need connection, support, understanding. That's something I'm still learning. Stewart nodded, adding, and I think we all struggle with balance. How do you chase dreams without losing sight of what matters most? It's a question I ask myself every day. By the end of the evening, neither man emerged as a clear winner, at least not in the traditional sense. Points were tallied, trophies handed out, and jokes exchanged freely. But what lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling was the realization that this showdown had become something far greater than either of them intended. It wasn't just about proving who was smarter, funnier, or more capable. It was about finding common ground amidst differences and reminding everyone watching that at our core we're all just people trying to figure things out. As the final challenge wrapped up, the atmosphere in the studio shifted. The competitive edge that had driven both Elon and Jon throughout the evening began to soften, replaced by something unexpected: mutual respect. For hours, they'd gone, head-to-head, trading barbs, showcasing their strengths and even exposing vulnerabilities. But now, as the host announced the end of the showdown, it was clear this wasn't just another spectacle. It was a moment of genuine connection. The host stepped forward holding two small trophies aloft. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, his voice warm and playful, "we've seen rockets soar, speeches inspire, and trivia answers stump even the brightest minds. So, without further ado, let's crown our winner." He paused dramatically, before adding with a grin, "Actually, I think we all know there's no real winner here. Both of you brought your A-game tonight." The audience erupted into applause, cheering not just for the performances but for the spirit of collaboration that had emerged. Elon and Jon exchanged a glance, their earlier tension melting away. They walked toward each other, shaking hands, firmly, though neither looked entirely comfortable with the gesture at first. It was a small moment, but it spoke volumes. Two vastly different personalities finding common ground despite their differences. Backstage after the show, the energy remained lively. Crew members scrambled to pack up equipment while fans lingered, outside hoping for a glimpse of the stars of the evening. Inside the green room, Elon and Jon sat across from each other, sipping coffee and reflecting on what had just happened. Neither seemed eager to leave. Not yet. "You know," Jon said, breaking the silence, "I didn't expect you to open up like that during the speech round. That bit about failure. It hit home for me." Elon nodded slowly, leaning back in his chair. "Yeah, well, I didn't expect you to call me out so effectively either. You're good at what you do, I'll give you that." Jon chuckled, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. "Look, I'm not going to pretend I understand half the stuff you're working on. Rockets, brain chips, electric cars, it's all way over my head. But I get why people care about what you're doing. You're shaping the future, whether I agree with every decision or not." Elon raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what about you? You're not exactly sitting on the sidelines, are you? Your farm isn't just a hobby. It's part of your message. People listen to you because you make them think." For a moment, neither spoke. The weight of their words hung in the air, bridging the gap between innovator and commentator, dreamer and critic. They came from different worlds, but their goals weren't as far apart as they'd initially thought. Both wanted to leave the world better than they found it. They just approached it in wildly different ways. Outside the studio, social media buzzed with reactions. Clips from the showdown went viral almost instantly, sparking debates and discussions across platforms. Some praised Elon for standing his ground while showing vulnerability. Others applauded Jon for balancing humor with heartfelt commentary. Memes flooded timelines, capturing everything from Elon's rocket-building prowess to Jon's quick-witted jokes. One particularly popular post featured a split image. On one side, Elon holding a sleek model rocket. On the other, Jon grinning, mischievously next to a kale plant. The caption read, "Brains versus banter, who won?" But beyond the memes and hashtags, something deeper resonated with viewers. Many commented on how refreshing it was to see two public figures engage in honest, unfiltered dialogue, rather than resorting to petty insults. In a world often divided by extremes, this showdown reminded people that disagreement doesn't have to mean hostility. It can lead to understanding if approached with openness and humility. In the days that followed, the impact of the event rippled outward. Late-night hosts dedicated entire segments to analyzing the showdown, praising its unique format and the chemistry between Elon and Jon. News outlets ran stories highlighting key moments, from Elon's candid admission about failure to Jon's thoughtful remarks on accountability. Even critics who had initially dismissed the feud as trivial found themselves impressed by the depth of the conversation. For Elon, the experience marked a turning point. He realized that engaging with critics didn't weaken his position, it strengthened it. By embracing the challenge instead of shying away, he'd humanized himself in ways traditional PR never could. Viewers saw him not just as a billionaire visionary, but as someone capable of reflection and growth. And while he still faced scrutiny for his decisions, the tone of the criticism softened slightly, tinged now with acknowledgement of his willingness to engage. Jon, too, walked away changed. Though he'd always prided himself on holding powerful figures accountable, this encounter reminded him of the importance of empathy. Elon wasn't just a caricature of excess and ambition, he was a person navigating complex challenges with passion and determination. Jon began incorporating more nuance into his commentary, challenging leaders not out of spite, but out of a desire to push them toward greater responsibility. Weeks later, Elon made a surprising move. During an interview, he mentioned Jon Stewart, not to criticize him, but to commend him. "He's sharp, funny, and relentless," Elon said, smiling faintly. "But underneath all that, he genuinely cares about making things better. I respect that." Jon caught wind of the comment and responded on his podcast, laughing good-naturedly. "Well, if Elon Musk says nice things about me, I must be doing something right. Maybe next time we'll skip the rockets and just talk about farming, or maybe swap roles. Imagine me running Tesla for a day." Their exchange became yet another talking point, proof that the showdown had sparked a lasting connection. What started as a heated feud had evolved into a friendship built on mutual admiration and a shared commitment to using their platforms for meaningful conversations. Looking back, it was hard to pinpoint exactly when the rivalry transformed into camaraderie. Was it during the trivia round when Jon's humor lightened the mood? Or perhaps during the impromptu speeches when both men revealed pieces of themselves they rarely shared? Whatever the moment, the outcome was undeniable. Two unlikely allies had emerged from the chaos, proving that even the most polarizing conflicts can lead to growth, if approached with curiosity and courage. The ripple effects of the showdown continued to spread far beyond the initial buzz. Days turned into weeks, and the conversation around Elon and Jon's clash evolved from mere entertainment to something more profound. Late-night hosts, news anchors, and even casual viewers kept revisiting key moments, not just because they were entertaining, but because they carried lessons that resonated deeply with people. One clip in particular kept resurfacing: Elon's speech about failure. His words had struck a chord with millions who felt stuck or discouraged in their own lives. Social media was flooded with posts quoting him. "Every step forward is usually preceded by 10 steps back." People shared stories of their own struggles, failed businesses, broken relationships, dreams deferred, and how hearing those words made them feel less alone. For many, it wasn't just Elon talking. It was a reminder that setbacks are universal, no matter how successful someone might seem on the surface. Jon's comments about accountability also lingered in public discourse. Clips of his speech were played during morning talk shows and business seminars, sparking discussions about leadership and responsibility. One CEO tweeted, "If you're leading others, listen to this. Owning your mistakes isn't weakness, it's strength." Teachers used his words in classrooms to teach students about integrity, while parents shared them with their kids as life advice. It was clear that Jon's message had transcended the stage, becoming a guiding principle for people navigating their own challenges. But the impact wasn't limited to abstract ideas. Real-world collaborations began to take shape as a result of the showdown. Inspired by the event, a group of tech entrepreneurs and comedians teamed up to create a new platform aimed at fostering dialogue between innovators and critics. The idea was simple yet powerful: Bring together people from different fields to discuss big issues in a way that was both thought-provoking and accessible. Think town halls meets variety shows complete with humor, storytelling, and audience participation. They called it Bridging Worlds, and launched a pilot episode featuring guests from science, art, politics, and entertainment, all inspired by the dynamic between Elon and Jon. Elon himself became involved indirectly. While he didn't appear on the first episode, he was busy overseeing a rocket launch. He offered his support by retweeting the announcement and encouraging his followers to tune in. "We need more spaces like this," he wrote, "where ideas collide, not to destroy but to build." Jon, meanwhile, signed on as an advisor, lending his expertise to help shape the format and tone of the show. He joked during an interview, "If we can get Elon and me to sit down and talk without throwing rockets or kale at each other, anything's possible." The response was overwhelming. Tickets for the live tapings sold out within hours, and online, streams drew millions of views. Viewers loved the mix of humor and substance, praising the creators for finding a way to make serious topics engaging without dumbing them down. Critics noted how rare it was to see such diverse perspectives come together without devolving into arguments, a testament to the groundwork laid by Elon and Jon's showdown. Meanwhile, the two men remained in touch, occasionally exchanging messages or hopping on quick calls. Their interactions weren't frequent, but when they did connect, the conversations were meaningful. During one call, Jon brought up an idea he'd been mulling over: a documentary series exploring the human side of innovation. "Think about it," he said. "You've got these brilliant minds changing the world, but we never really see what drives them. The doubts, the fears, the late nights staring at the ceiling wondering if they're doing the right thing. What if we showed that?" Elon paused, considering the proposal. On one hand, he wasn't exactly known for opening up about his personal life. But on the other hand, he recognized the value in demystifying success. Too often, people saw only the end results, the shiny products, the groundbreaking discoveries, without understanding the messy process behind them. "All right," he finally said. "Let's do it. But only if you narrate it. Your voice adds credibility." Jon laughed, surprised by the offer. "Me? Narrating a documentary? I'm flattered, but don't blame me if I accidentally turn it into a comedy special." They spent the next few months working closely with filmmakers, blending Elon's insights into technology and innovation with Jon's knack for storytelling. The resulting series, titled Behind the Blueprint, premiered to critical acclaim. Each episode focused on a different innovator, from engineers designing sustainable cities to artists using AI to push creative boundaries. Through intimate interviews and behind-the-scenes footage, viewers gained a deeper appreciation for the hard work, resilience, and occasional absurdity that went into making big ideas reality. Back in their respective corners of the world, both Elon and Jon reflected on how much had changed since that fateful night in the studio. For Elon, the experience reinforced the importance of vulnerability. He realized that admitting uncertainty didn't make him weaker, it made him relatable. Employees at SpaceX and Tesla noticed a subtle shift in his leadership style. He became more approachable, encouraging teams to speak up about challenges instead of hiding them. Mistakes were still met with high standards, but there was a newfound emphasis on learning rather than punishing. Jon, too, found himself growing in unexpected ways. Collaborating with Elon challenged him to think bigger, to consider not just the problems of today but the possibilities of tomorrow. He started incorporating more forward-thinking themes into his writing and speaking engagements, urging audiences to balance skepticism with optimism. "Being critical doesn't mean being cynical," he told a crowd during a college commencement speech. "It means asking tough questions so we can find better answers. And sometimes those answers come from places you least expect." As time went on, the showdown itself became legendary. Clips from the event were used in classrooms, motivational talks, and even corporate training sessions. It served as a case study for conflict resolution, demonstrating how opposing viewpoints could coexist without erasing differences. Some dubbed it the great nerd comedian détente, while others simply referred to it as the night brains met banter. Whatever the label, its legacy endured. For Elon and Jon, the feud-turned-friendship proved to be a turning point, not just personally but culturally. By stepping outside their comfort zones and embracing discomfort, they reminded everyone watching that growth happens when we engage with those who challenge us. Whether through laughter, reflection, or collaboration, the story of their showdown stood as a testament to the power of dialogue. In a world often divided by extremes, it showed that connection is always possible if we're willing to meet halfway. Months after the showdown, the world had moved on to new headlines, but the ripple effects of that night lingered in unexpected ways. For Elon and Jon, the experience didn't fade into memory. It became a foundation for something bigger. The unlikely friendship they forged wasn't just about shared laughs or mutual respect. It sparked a series of initiatives that brought people together in meaningful ways. One day, while scrolling through emails during a rare quiet moment, Elon stumbled upon a message from a teacher in a small town. She wrote about how her students had been inspired by clips from the showdown. They've started debates in class, she explained, arguing over whether innovation or accountability matters more. It's made them think critically and care deeply. Enclosed with the email was a photo of the kids holding makeshift trophies they'd crafted themselves, mimicking the ones from the event. Elon smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't anticipated. He forwarded the email to Jon with a note. "Looks like we're inspiring the next generation." Jon replied almost immediately, "Well, if these kids are half as passionate as we were that night, the future is in good hands. Maybe we should do something to keep the momentum going." That exchange planted a seed. Over the following weeks, they brainstormed ideas for a program aimed at fostering critical thinking and creativity among young people. They called it Future Thinkers, a nationwide competition where students tackled real-world problems using science, storytelling, and teamwork. Teams would present solutions to panels of judges, blending technical expertise with persuasive communication, a nod to the skills both Elon and Jon had showcased during their showdown. The response was overwhelming. Schools across the country signed up eager to participate. Teachers reported seeing a surge in student engagement, with kids staying late after class to work on projects and bouncing ideas off one another. One team designed a solar-powered water filtration system, while another created an app to combat online misinformation. When the finalists gathered for the grand finale, Elon and Jon surprised everyone by showing up to host the event together. Standing side by side on stage, they introduced the program with lighthearted banter before diving into heartfelt speeches about the importance of dreaming big and staying grounded. "This isn't just about winning," Jon told the audience. "It's about learning how to fail, adapt, and try again. Because trust me, even the smartest people screw up, and that's okay." Elon nodded, adding, "And remember, no matter what you create, make sure it helps others. Innovation without purpose is like a rocket without fuel. It won't go anywhere." As the years passed, the legacy of their showdown continued to grow. Clips from the event became staples in leadership workshops, TED Talks, and motivational seminars. Entrepreneurs cited it as proof that success isn't about avoiding criticism, it's about embracing it constructively. Comedians praised it as an example of how humor can cut through tension and spark meaningful conversations. Even late-night hosts still referenced it occasionally, joking about Elon's rocket-building skills or Jon's kale obsession. But beyond the jokes and accolades, the showdown left a lasting cultural impact. It reminded people that disagreement doesn't have to lead to division. In fact, when approached with openness and empathy, conflict can be a catalyst for growth. Viewers walked away not just entertained but inspired to question assumptions, listen actively, and seek common ground. For Elon, the experience reshaped how he interacted with critics. Instead of dismissing opposing views outright, he began engaging with them, sometimes publicly, sometimes privately. During interviews, he acknowledged the value of constructive pushback, crediting Jon for helping him see its importance. "Criticism forces you to rethink your approach," he said. "If you're too stubborn to listen, you'll miss opportunities to improve." Jon, meanwhile, found himself drawn to stories of resilience and ingenuity. His podcast episodes often featured Innovators tackling global challenges from climate change to healthcare access. Each interview ended with a reflection on accountability, urging listeners to hold leaders responsible, while supporting efforts to drive positive change. "We need dreamers who dare to imagine a better world," he said in one episode. "But we also need skeptics who ensure those dreams don't lose sight of reality." Eventually, the two men reunited for a special anniversary episode of Behind the Blueprint. Sitting across from each other in a cozy studio setting, they revisited the showdown that started it all. The conversation was candid yet lighthearted, filled with laughter and moments of introspection. "Do you ever look back and wonder how things might have gone differently?" Jon asked, leaning forward slightly. Elon smirked. "Honestly, I think we got lucky. If either of us had been less willing to laugh at ourselves, it could have gone south pretty quickly." Jon chuckled, nodding. "True, but I think what made it work was that we both cared. About different things, sure, but ultimately about making a difference. That gave us a reason to keep talking, even when it got uncomfortable." Their chemistry was undeniable, a testament to how much they'd grown since that first fiery exchange. By the end of the episode, viewers felt like they were eavesdropping on a conversation between old friends, rather than watching a rehearsed interview. In the final scene of the episode, the camera panned out to show Elon and Jon walking away from the studio together, deep in conversation. Neither seemed in a hurry to part ways, their body language relaxed and animated. As they disappeared into the distance, the screen faded to black, leaving viewers with a simple message. Connection starts with courage. Growth begins with dialogue. The credits rolled, accompanied by upbeat music, as audiences reflected on the journey they'd witnessed. What began as a clash of egos had transformed into a blueprint for bridging divides, a reminder that even the most unlikely alliances can lead to extraordinary outcomes. And though the story of Elon and Jon's showdown eventually faded from the spotlight, its lessons endured, inspiring countless others to embrace curiosity, vulnerability, and the power of human connection.